Hello and welcome to another episode of Frags and Beer Radio Live. I am your host, Trevor, or Xamot, however you want to call me. You find most of my stuff through fragsandbeer.com, but also Twitter at TJBeersbach, highlandarrow.com, and a couple other websites you can find me on. So Friday is our usually weekly podcast where I talk about geek news, try to share some positivity with the things that I'm finding for the week, like my comic book pull list, but also some of the important things that come up. I try to keep the show positive. Every once in a while we sneak some stuff in there that's kind of serious or sometimes a little negative. Plenty of coffee. Wanted to start out first by saying we got our Subscribe Star page up. I've mentioned it a couple times. I've shared it out there on Twitter. You may see some changes to our formatting over the next few months, depending on what happens. We are running into a point where the computer is not, my PC is not new enough to stream some new games. Like I can play Division 2, but I can't stream it. And I don't want to give you guys subpar content, so we may continue to play. We'll continue Pathfinder for Saturday randomness, and we may find another game that works for Saturday randomness. But in the event we don't, we may be moving our classic RPG stream to Saturday mornings, and then just canceling the Monday show, canceling Saturday randomness to play our older games. I do love streaming for everybody. I love playing games. I love talking to the people who come in to watch me play games, and but we're just running into a wall with our infrastructure, with our system here, and without a lot of money to dump into it right now. So I did start a Subscribe Star page. I used to have a Patreon, didn't get a lot of movement there, but I also did not like how Patreon was handling its business. So I left them. Even though I was getting a little bit of money from there, I just left it. And I don't want to put ads on things. I don't want ads on fragsandbeer.com. I don't want ads on the Frags and Beer Network, whether it be Twitch or Mixer or YouTube. I don't want ads. So to avoid that, we put up a Subscribe Star page. If you're interested, it's subscribestar/ Trevor Biersbach. I'll share the link. It's on my Twitter profile. It's on the YouTube video description. What I like about Subscribe Star is you can do a donation or you can subscribe. What I'm trying to get to is a goal to build a new computer. I don't know if I'll get that through that or if I'll just wind up building one eventually, end of this year or first part of next year. But if I do get any donations that help us move toward that, that would be fantastic. If not, most of my content is free. I will be putting up, and I'll release the first one on Mixer or on Medium, but I do believe that I'm going to give a short, probably serial short story every month, hopefully every month, depending on writing schedule and things like that. I want to make it flash fiction shorts, very quick snippets. I have to decide how I want the story to go, what I want it to be about. I know where it's going to be set, and I got to find a character that I want to use. But I think I'm going to put that on the Subscribe Star page so that if you subscribe, you can get that regular updated story that will come out. But I will release the first one on Medium so that you guys can see what it is you would be subscribing to and determine from there what you want to do. But anyway, let's get to the show. I want to talk about a couple things, a couple of important things, a couple of things that have come up over the course of the week that you guys may or may not have seen on our Twitter feed. But a couple things that I wanted to talk about. Most importantly, some of the things and how the geek community is still being treated. And some of the real toxicity. I know people talk about toxic gamers and toxic fandom and all this other crap, and I really hate that word. But there is some serious negativity out there, and it's not necessarily who you would expect. There is let me see if I can find my post about it. There was a Ubisoft artist, concept artist, I think, but basically a Ubisoft employee, not too long ago, a couple days ago actually, posted, here it is, let me find this tweet and see if I can what I want to do is see if I can get this up here. Let's open the window capture. Yeah, that's what I want to see right there. Let's open that up. Can you guys see that? Hopefully that's big enough for you to see. Let me expand that a little bit there for you. Can you guys see that? Okay, so what this is from a guy named RJ Palmer, who does work for Ubisoft. You could see it in his profile. Let me click to the other picture there. Concept artist for Ubisoft San Francisco. Yeah, it looks like you guys can see that. And pardon my editing skills. It's a live show. I'm not one of those fancy streamers that can give you quick edits and things like that. And I know you can see my tabs. I ain't got nothing up there but my windows that I'm watching for social media and whatnot. But anyway, so he said if being a gamer is the most important part of your personality, you're not a very interesting person. Although also this is what you look like to others. And shares this hairless rat creature. To me, you know, like a ball sack with legs. People love rats. People love hairless creatures. Yeah, it's all good. It's all that's. If you love them, you love them. I have nothing bad to say about people who love these kinds of animals. I don't particularly care for it, but it's just me. I don't care. But anyway, the point is, so this guy. So there's a lot of people out there that the primary hobby or the primary enjoyment they get out of life comes from gaming. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Of course there's not. Not everybody has a full-time job. A lot of people are still students and their primary hobby is gaming, whether it be tabletop or computer or console. There are people who are agoraphobic, who are stuck in their homes for hours on end, and they actually find a healthy outlet through gaming. They find sometimes interaction with people they wouldn't normally interact with through gaming. There are people who have chronic illnesses who cannot leave their homes for that reason and who find a healthy therapeutic outlet through gaming. PTSD sufferers. There are people suffering from depression who find an outlet in gaming. There are so many people out there whose primary experience in the world, or whose primary hobby or whose primary leisure time is spent gaming, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. And for somebody who works for a game developer, for somebody who works for Ubisoft, to say that you're not an interesting person because gamer is your primary identity, well, screw you, dude. Quite literally, screw you. There are people out there that is the only way that they can cope, or that's the only way that they can find some way of experiencing the world outside of their sphere, their home, their bubble, their hospital bed, whatever it may be. And so what if they call themselves gamers? So what if that's all they've got? Maybe it is. Maybe that's the only thing that some people have in their lives. And to say that they're not interesting people and they're hairless rats, screw you. And quit working for a game company. I'm sorry, if you work for a company that is so ingrained in catering. I'm not talking about like people that work at McDonald's or people that work at a retail store. I mean, they have to deal with customers, sometimes awful customers. Some people are intentionally awful. I've worked that. I've been in retail for 20 years before I got my current job. I know what that's like. But when you work in a creative field, when you work in a field where your primary function is to create something, to entertain people, and those people become fans of yours or fans of your company or fans of the team that you work with, for you to deride them, to call them rats, to say that they're not interesting people, that's low. That's so disgusting. Like that's so the word that everybody wants to use. That's toxic. It's poisonous. It's poisonous to the community. It's poisonous to, the fans. It's poisonous to other developers. That kind of crap spreads. It's like a contagion. It's a disease in our community, and it's unwelcome. If you hate gamers, if you hate people who buy your product, if you hate the people who show up, who buy early, who spend lots of money on the things that you make, if you hate those people, find another job. There are plenty of people who would love to be a game developer. There are so many people that would love to get paid to do what you do, RJ. If you hate it, leave. Let those people take your place. Let those people have the job that they want and love, and you go do something else. You go do something where you don't have to deal with people, because that calling gamers rats to say gamers aren't interesting people, screw you. Who are you to say that crap? So that's the kind of thing where we keep hearing about toxic gamers, the toxic community, the toxic fandom. You know what? I've not seen so much hate in the last probably 6 or 7 years. So much negativity, so much derision than I've seen from people on the industry side of this thing. Gamers have always been heated. Gamers have always been shit talkers. Gamers have always been the kind of people that give each other a hard time. That's that competitiveness that we have. That's that I mean, a lot of people like that with their family, for example. Like my wife and I, we give each other crap all the time. We're back and forth and we're picking at each other. It's because it keeps things interesting. We know it's not serious. We don't take each other that seriously. We love each other, and that's one of the signs. That's one of the things that we do when we love each other. You know, messing with each other and stuff. That's gamers do that too. Gamers give each other a hard time. That's not hate. You know, that is. You know, you say it's love. You know, a lot of people look at that and go, oh, that's not love. You're like breaking that guy's balls. You don't love him. That's what that is. That's how people express that they care about somebody, but you don't have to always express that, I love you, man. Like sometimes you say that, but sometimes you're giving somebody a nudge and you're saying, yeah, you suck at this game. You know, you say it with a little smile because you're giving him a hard time. You're breaking his balls. Or you're telling the chick next to you, hey, man, you know, you missed that kill, you missed that shot. It's not because she's a woman and because you hate her. That's how gamers talk to each other. But when somebody comes to a gamer and says, oh, you're not an interesting person, you're just this hairless rat, you know, that's poison. That right there is hate. And that is unwelcome, unnecessary. We don't need that crap. And to top that off, to go hand in hand with that this week, there was a Magic the Gathering artist. And let me find that post too, because I shared her post, and I want to read that because it is important. So this artist, and I'm trying to remember her name. You guys may already know it. I saw this the other day. This made me so angry when I saw this. Going back through my feed to find the post that... So this Magic the Gathering artist, anyway, I guess she's conservative, which is fine. Who gives a crap? Here it is. So she's a conservative woman married to another woman. I believe she grew up Mormon. She's one of the top Magic the Gathering artists out there. Therese, what's her last name? Therese Nielsen. Okay. I haven't been involved in Magic the Gathering for a long time. I used to be huge into it. I used to actually run tournaments here locally at one of the game shops. Used to have tons of people come to them. We never had a problem in the Magic community, at least when I was part of it, with gamers hating each other, keeping people out, all this talk of gatekeeping and all this stuff. We never had a problem with that. Anybody could come and play. We had some tournaments where you had to bring your own deck. We had some tournaments that were draw, expansion pack or pack draws. I can't remember the term for it, but you would come and you would buy a few packs of cards and build your deck from that. So everybody kind of started off on the same foot. And there was never a time where we were like, oh, you can't play. No, you can't. You're a girl. You can't. We never had that crap. So I don't know where all this talk comes from that the community is like that, but I can tell you where some of the community is poison. So this guy, Travis Allen, I don't know who the hell he is, but he started digging into Therese Nielsen's Twitter followers, her posts. She brought this woman's wife into it because she follows Hannity on Twitter and crap, like because she follows Alex Jones. Like, Alex Jones is crazy, but who cares if somebody maybe she thinks he's funny and she likes laughing at a crazy dude screaming about gay frogs. Maybe that's why she follows him on Twitter. I follow people on Twitter because they're weird. I follow people on Twitter because the things they post make me laugh, not because I agree with everything they say, but sometimes because I want to see what they're going to say next because it's so insane. So just because somebody follows people you don't like on Twitter doesn't mean that's a bad person. But that's what happened. This guy, Travis Allen, he was going out and finding all these posts like, oh, see, she's a racist. She supports homophobia. And she's a lesbian. And this guy's saying, oh, she supports all this hate. Come the fuck on, right? So, pardon my language if that offends you, but seriously, this kind of crap makes me angry, because here this guy has brought all this up, and he's getting a lot of people that are like backing him up. Like, yeah, I'm going to pull all her cards out of my deck, and I'm going to deface all her stuff, and I'm never buying cards with her art on it again. Like, what kind of poisonous, contagious garbage is coming up in this community? But anyway, so she posted this not too long ago, and it's pretty long, but basically she talks about being excommunicated from a community and ostracized by family for following my convictions is not new to me. Growing up Mormon, my decision to choose to be with my wife for the last 20 years elicited many comments from those who purported to know and love me. The only thing worse than your choice is murder, she puts in quotes. It would be better if you were dead, also quotes. And from this day forward, you will suffer the buffetings of Satan. Those are things that came from her family for being gay. So she's comparing this, and it is very similar. She's a gay conservative. So her family ostracized her for being gay. People in her church ostracized her for being gay. And now the Magic the Gathering community, or some people in it, are ostracizing her for being conservative. Who cares if she's conservative? You people need to drop the idea that all conservatives are evil, or all conservatives are Nazis, or all conservatives are white supremacists. That garbage you're being fed and you're bleeding out there like a sheep or a parrot, that's crap. You need to drop that. You need to start using your brain. You need to start thinking for yourself, because what you're doing to this woman is caused by that poison that you've allowed into your brain, to this tribal bullcrap that you're using to allow you to think that other people are bad. Why is somebody calling me? Leave a message this time. I keep getting a call from this same number, and I think it's a telemarketer, because when I call them back, they don't answer. Let me see who it is. Hello?
Pre-approved by the Major Credit Reporting Bureau to get 0% on all your credit cards.
Can you hear that?
This will benefit you.
We're going to talk to him.
Your debt faster, and
it's Gary.
Also lower your monthly minimum payment. Before I connect you to a verification department, I just need to ask you a couple of quick questions. Do you owe $2,000 or more on all of your credit cards combined?
Maybe.
And are you making your monthly minimum payments on time?
Maybe. Maybe. Oh, he hung up. So you want to be very careful with those. I was hoping to get through to somebody so I could screw with them. Never say yes to those recording things. A lot of times what they do is try to use your recorded voice when you say yes to answer other questions, to steal your identity, sign you up for things. Never say yes to those recording things. But I was hoping we'd get like a push one for somebody. Anyway, that same number keeps calling. It's really getting annoying. But then she goes on. As painful as these daggers were to bear, I knew my truth was mine alone. Obviously, she gets to love who she wants to love. She also gets to believe the political beliefs she wants to believe. And there's nothing in there to indicate that this woman is a bigot or hateful or racist or any of that stuff that people are saying about her. I've looked at the post. You can go look too. There's nothing in her anywhere that seems to indicate that. But she goes on basically to compare the garbage that she was getting from her family for being gay to the stuff that she's getting from people in the Magic the Gathering community for being a conservative. She even talks about the community's blessed me with a myriad of ways for the past 25 years. She's been an artist working with the Magic community for the last 25 years. She's learned generosity, gratitude from hosts of players, gifting me through the mail and tipping me to sign their cards. I do my best to carry the generosity forward and add it similarly to people that wait on me in restaurants, clean my hotel rooms, and mow my lawn. I've been edified many times watching The Gentle. Is that edified? Yeah, watching The Gentle. And compassionate exchanges between Magic players that connect with strangers. Now that's refreshing, because a lot of times we see from people that, oh, the Magic players, they're so toxic, they're so awful. And here is a woman who's pointedly addressing this and saying that the players that she sees are generous, they're kind, they're loving people, and that's what we know gamers to be. And basically, she ends it with free will and the freedom to express it in all forms are paramount to existence. I leave this here, requiring no changes or comments from anyone. This is simply a sharing from my soul to yours. And she's right. Freedom of expression, freedom to think what you want to think, that's paramount to humanity. That's paramount to living. And anybody who tries to stamp on that, to shut that out, those people do not have a place in our society. You know, they get to exist here, but if you want to shut other people out because you don't like what they believe, you have no place in a society that believes everybody gets to be free. You can just sit there and be free yourself, but you need to stop trying to push other people into some box or try to stamp them out or shut them up. You don't get to do that. That is not how this gets to work. So very awful things that have come out of that, and unfortunately I had to talk about it. I hate having to talk about it because you know, I want to keep this show as positive as possible, and so we're going to talk about some other things now too. But go check out Therese Nielsen if you haven't. Her art, I looked through her art today and yesterday when I was looking at this stuff. She's got some awesome stuff out there. Now again, I'm not involved with magic anymore. I haven't been in a long time, but her stuff is gorgeous. The stuff that I've seen from her paintings that got turned into cards, beautiful work. So check it out if you haven't already. She's got some great stuff out there. There's the dog. Bark, bark. I don't know why he decides to do this for the last couple of days now when I'm streaming. He's like, I want to bark. So next, what are we going to talk about next? Let's see what I posted that we were going to talk about next. I put a list of... So, yeah, we talked about Ubisoft. We talked about the Magic the Gathering community. Anticipations for Endgame. I know that everybody's talking about Endgame and what they want to do. Or what they want to see in Endgame anyway. And I've only got two. We're going to get a good movie. We're going to get an awesome movie. I really don't doubt that at all. I think we're going to get a fantastic movie. What I want to see, though, is I want to see a tie-in. I really do want to see a tie-in to the X-Men or the properties coming into the MCU. I don't know if they've had time to put something together, even if it's just something really quick. But they've been really good at teasing us with some of their mid-credits, end-credits scenes. So I think they really could pull something off relatively quickly. My optimum thing I'd like to see in Endgame that doesn't really even have to do with the movie. I would love to see a mid-credit scene where we see somebody from the X franchise in I don't care if it's, you know, somebody from the Avengers bumps into Professor Xavier, or we even just see something with an X on it, or we see something leading us to, okay, so the next phase is going to pull in the X-Men. Ideally, maybe Hugh Jackman and some claws, but you know, we may or may not get that. And then I think the end credit scene, if I were writing this movie today, and this would be the perfect way to end this phase for me, I think, and probably for the millions that are going to see this movie. I think after everything, it needs to fade to black, call up some 1920s slow romantic, not 20s, sorry, 1940s slow romantic music, and then opens up into, you know, like a dance floor and Steve and Peggy getting their dance. At the end, Steve's dead. He's got to die, so we got to have that. I hope they don't leave it vague. Don't tease us with, oh, he disappears or he's gonna be back in time, so maybe he can come back. Show us the body, make his sacrifice mean something, make it worth something, and then credits cut, music, dance floor, Steve and Peggy getting their dance, fade to black. End of this phase of the MCU. I think that would be the perfect ending. I think it would be a beautiful ending. I think it would be the best way to sort of encapsulate this phase, these last 24 movies that we've had. It would give it sort of a grounded human element right toward the end. You know, you've had all these action things, these explosions, these, you know, space battles and gods from Asgard and demons and all of this really otherworldly stuff over the last 24 movies, and then have it end with just something so human and so heartwarming and so perfect. I think that's my ideal ending for Endgame. I don't know if we'll see it. I think it would be great, but who knows? We'll see what they do in a couple of weeks. 3 weeks? We got the 20. It actually comes out. Is it my birthday or the day before my birthday? Comes out a couple days before my birthday. My birthday is on the 27th, so it's a couple days before that. So hopefully I will get to see it that weekend. I'm on vacation the week before that, so when we come back from vacation, I'm hoping to get to see it, and then I will talk about it probably that Monday. We will probably move that week's Frags and Beer Radio to earlier in the week, so you don't have to wait a whole week. In case you want to come watch me talk about it. So now, to the positivity, and to wrap up our show, my pull list for the week, which is actually going to show you a comic book from a previous week. But my pull list from the week includes regular issue Knights of the Dinner Table. I did a review on this. I'm trying to get the glare off of the screen. But anyway, that is the current issue of Knights of the Dinner Table. I did a review on this on Frags and Beer a month ago, I think, which you can still obviously go to fragsandbeer.com and get a full review of this comic. This strip has been going on for a long time. This comic book has been going on for quite a few years as well. We're on a 263rd monthly issue. It's a little bit more expensive. It's $5.99. It's a magazine as opposed to just a comic book. I can't remember if I talked about this on one of the shows, but basically the first half of it, the first half of the book is comics. And if you notice the art's like pretty old school, pretty rough, and it's always been that way. And that's kind of what I like about this book, because it's really not about the art. This started out as a very small strip in a book called Shadis, and then it went to Dragon Magazine. It's been a couple other iterations since then, but they've really stuck true to the original, very rough, kind of simplistic art form. They stuck to that throughout all these years when they could have done more. They really just wanted to keep it at its roots. And then the last half of the book is a role-playing magazine where they talk about gaming. They do gaming movies. They talk about, they have a letters page. They do reviews of board games. Sometimes they pull out some classic board games like Fireball Island and some of that really old stuff that we haven't seen in years. So it's actually a really good value at $5.99. It is also a great book if you're a role player, especially an old school role player, because the stories in here with the characters go back to some really old, some nostalgic feeling RPG stuff that, you know, if you had one of those old groups, guys and gals sitting around the table, you know, just killing monsters and grabbing loot, this book will really appeal to you if that was your thing. But even if it wasn't, it's still a funny book. The characters are well written. The antics that they participate in and the trouble that they get themselves into is always really funny. So it's a good book to look into, especially if you're a role player. I think you'd really appreciate that book. Also got our regular issue of Robotech from Titan. It is a departure from the original story to the point where now it's not much at all like the original, which isn't a bad thing. I'm usually not too fond of adaptations or remakes where they go too far to one side or the other and they're just not at all like the book anymore. But this one is more like a reimagining, and it's pretty well done. The art is kind of iffy. The first artist who was on this book was not great at all. The newer artist, let's see if I can find the name. Is it? Oh, it's even a new one in this one. Marco Torrini, I think, is not the same guy from the last one. It's not terrible, but it's not great. If the story were not so good and I wasn't such a huge fan of Robotech, I may not be picking it up too much longer, but it's still keeping me interested. The variant covers are kind of cool. This is actually one of the variants that looks like one of the old action figure cards for Sammy from the Bridge Crew. But it's a good book. If you like Robotech, it's worth checking out, at least to see how this writer, how Simon Furman, sort of reimagines the whole story of the Macross saga. I'm hoping they go into the next ones, into Southern Cross, and then eventually into the third generation. I don't remember what they called that in the show. I haven't gotten that far. I'm rewatching the animated Robotech, and I haven't gotten to the third generation yet. I can't remember what they called it. All right, and finally, I got a free one, as I get from time to time. My comic guy will throw some free ones in my bag because he knows I'm always on the lookout for new stuff. And so we got this one from Ahoy Comics, which is a smaller indie print, but it's called Bronze Age Boogie. And at first the cover threw me, the colors, the title, everything threw me. The opening pages, I wasn't too sure about. Like, it's a really weird comic. It really is. But after about the third or fourth page, I started to get interested in what was going on. And then by the end, I'm actually considering having my comic guy add this to the list. It starts out with in 1975, and it looks like there's a talking ape who's in charge of a group of criminals. Her name is Madam Ape. And then it jumps back almost 4,000 years to a young woman and her father fighting in a war with all of their warriors against some wizards in their undead army who are riding dinosaurs. So it's like dinosaurs and zombies and castle. Like, it is so weird. But I was really intrigued. She actually is friends with an ape who traveled back in time and who's telling her stories about the future. And then she gets pulled into the future when Martians are attacking Earth. So really weird. The whole thing, it's got Martians in it, it's got zombies, it's got undead dinosaurs, it's got talking apes. This book's got everything. But what got really interesting is when I get to the end of it, the guy who wrote this book, which is, what's his name? Stuart Moore. So Stuart Moore, the writer of this book, he in his sort of editorial at the end of this, he talks about when he was growing up, he was really interested in space opera. He picked up a Marvel preview number 4 that had Star-Lord on the cover. He also talked about really enjoying where did he talk about enjoying some of the older, like Savage Sword of Conan and stuff. And those Bronze Age sort of comics and stories and space operas are what inspired him to write this particular book. And I can kind of see that. I can kind of see the John Carter, Conan, sort of space sci-fi adventure stuff that you would have normally seen on, in some of the black and white, 60s movies or in the old pulp comics and books. So Bronze Age Boogie, really weird. Really, really weird, but actually intriguing enough by the time I got done with the first issue. Intriguing enough that I think I'd be interested in picking this up and seeing where it goes from here, at least. I don't know. We'll see. It's a very strange comic. You might enjoy it, but it's from Ahoy Comics, and I believe this is the current issue, number 1. Let me see what month this is. It should just be this month. So I'm hoping my comic guy can get me on it without missing too many. But anyway, that's sort of our show. I wanted to talk about those few things with you and share the news that I saw and how it was going this week for us geeks. Love each other. Be good to each other. Share the things that you love with each other. The comics that you like, the movies that you like. Don't tear people down for the things they enjoy. And if people are out there being shits, call them out. Tell them that's not cool. Shine a light on the cockroaches so that they skitter off. That guy comparing gamers to rats, as soon as I called him out, blocked me and deleted the tweet. when you shine a light on these cockroaches, that most of them just run off and scamper into the dark because they're cowards, and they know what they're doing is poisonous and awful. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get backed into a corner and they snap back. But a lot of times they're cowards. So point them out, shine the light on them, you know, and then share the love with your. Don't just show the negative stuff. Love each other. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Be appreciative of what we have and what we all share. We don't all like the same things, but we're all in the same community. We're all in the same family. And sometimes what I like, different than what you like. It doesn't mean we have to have problems with it. It doesn't mean we got to treat each other bad for it. So that's my show. Tomorrow there will not be a Saturday randomness. I have a book signing show all day tomorrow and most of Sunday, so I'm not sure I'm even going to be coherent Sunday evening to try to make up Saturday randomness. So the next time you'll see me is Monday Night Classics with more Final Fantasy 3. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the weather if it's nice. If it's not, stay inside, drink some coffee, play some video games. I will see you guys next time. Have a great one. Much love.